test, test. Test, test. Test, 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 test. Good morning, everyone, and welcome everyone to Trading Video. See how you guys are doing fantastic. Please let me know, is the audio doing great, or if it's a little choppy. I already have worked on the audio from yesterday. Let me know how we're doing. Hey Kelly, how's it going, Kelly? Let me know. Hey Shubi, what's up, brother? Welcome. Cheers. Great for those beers. Really love them. Great, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for being here, staying around. Really appreciate you guys. All right, so once again, let me know how the audio is doing, if we have some crackling issues or anything like that. We do have some crackling. Let me fix that really quickly. In the meantime, let's go to the charts and let's have things set up in here. And I'm gonna do some stuff, some improvements here as soon as we can, or as soon as I can. Let me just get my chart ready, up and ready. Of course, it had to be delayed. Let's take a look at here. Maybe is it? Let's actually bring up wavelength just to change this out for a little bit. And of course, there we go. We should be able to see it. And of course, this is just not working. Come on, training view. All right, perfect. Seems like we are having some good audio so far. There it is. All right, so we also have good video. So let me do some improvements really quickly. Let's do this. All right, and we should be able to have a much better setup in here. So let's get it. Let's see if we can actually improve this thing. All right, So far so good. We're getting here into our Bitcoin setup, the 4 hours. Let's go really quickly to the 30 minutes. Yesterday or today in the morning, we left out when we long 2 times our Bitcoin here and there. So hopefully you were able to take those little longs in here. I was not able to do the shorts. Why? There is a ton of things in here happening, especially around the dates where we're going to start launching the Black Friday event. Guys, if you are not tracking, we're going to have a Black Friday event. Things are still going to be released, but remember, we are bringing back the lifetime membership in case you are interested in the Chart Prime suite. If not, that's great. Just go, maybe just check out what we have in there. We have a bunch of free indicators. And well, other than that, if you're expecting or if you're waiting for that lifetime membership, this will be your upcoming opportunity. Starting not quite sure when we're releasing the actual Black Friday event, but we are getting closer to it. So it's going to be closer than around this upcoming weekend, not within 2 days, but the next one. So be prepared, guys. All right. Other than that, let's go really quickly to the, let me turn this on, to our 4-hour time frame because we have some exciting news. All right, look at that. We were looking for bottoming at, remember, 94, 93. Guess where we got at? 94.012. That was the very, very bottom right here, right around those areas. So let me clean this up and then we're going to take a look at what's going on here. All right, because we're getting very close to a possible entry and I am going to be trying to trade this next entry. All right, look at our prime score. It's 1. We are very extremely bearish, but there's another thing in here. Yes, we can go to 0, like for example our consolidation score, it's 0. That's why we have nothing in there. All right, so other than that, the next thing where if we get more bearish than prime score, that will be a 0 and that will be a big movement. But well, we have going from 1 or to 0 to 1, so I believe that we're gonna start seeing 2, 3 and maybe even 4 in this weekend. I do believe that we're gonna have a weekend pump, not something that I don't really like to see, but well, it is what it is. All right, things to keep in mind. Let's take a look at our oscillators. Look at that, almost tiny candles, or right there on the tiny candle scenario. Look at that, awesome. Kelly, I know you're a big fan of the RSI primed, so take a look at those tiny candles. We're almost there to have then the other color, the green colored candles, that is gonna also mark our shift in here. Important, nothing beats a great trend line, so let's add our trend line in here. Let me just remove this one. All right, let's right click, let's lock it, and let's add an alert on that trend line. Remember, not because we have tiny candles means, or it's an absolute meaning that we are going to be reversing. So it is a combination of the trend line, support and resistances, and your oscillators. All right, so far we are having the oscillator part. All right, we don't quite have the trend line. Let's bring up the rest of my indicators in here, and this time we're going to go heavy on it. All right, one of those indicators, there we go. Let me just start getting things out because we're going to be going over everything, right? One of those indicators are the ranges. All right, and let me see, there you go. We are at the bottom of a huge range. There we go. I mean, this is not something new. We've been tracking this downtrend range, all right, and we are at bottom. What happens when we're at the bottom? We tend to have some bottoming patterns, all right? So first of all, we are at the bottom. We have a loud order block, which is bullish, all right? So do expect some bouncing and then breakout to the upside, all right? At least if we have the breakout and we reach out and then we hold, most likely we're going to be breaking up to the upside. If we got that, well, that is because it's highly bullish. That doesn't mean that it's not a resistance. That only means that when the bearish are exhausted, we are still going to have some bullish scenario in there, some bullish orders. All right. Other stuff is that we have a predictive gray line right there. We have a support area right there, right? We are almost there with our peak performance diamond, look at that. Yes, we are still not in the correct color. I would say that we're somewhere around these areas, right? Look at those colors, maybe even a little bit before, right? But I mean, this could be a quick drawdown and then reversal. So I'm looking for that peak performance diamond. By the way, guys, if you like this oscillator, it's a free oscillator, linear regression oscillator by Chart Prime. So keep an eye on it. Okay, and well, something that I'm not liking, but it is what it is. We still have some strength. Important if we have that peak performance diamond like we did in here, like right there. All right, let me get rid also get rid of these things. Perfect. All right, if we get this peak performance diamond and we start seeing some decrease on the strength, that's what I want to see for this thing to take off, and then go find first the loud order block and secondary our dynamic reactor. All right, so far right now things are starting to shine, right? Like, I know not everything that shines is gold, of course, but things are starting to have that little glimpse in there, that little shine. I think we need to, you know, like, keep an eye on this and start looking for that entry zone. So the next one, it's our flip of the ribbon. We basically already have a flip of the ribbon, pretty flat truth, right? And the only thing that I will be looking for, look at this. This is something also that I like in here. So something that I'm going to be looking for, it is my true 7 to start pointing upwards, all right? And of course, my money flow to start also going against this or against the bearish scenario. When I have these two, man, the game is on, right? On with the game. But there's also something interesting. Look at this, and I need to modify my oscillator for this. So let me turn off my main oscillator shape. All right, and right here we have, there we go, a red lining here. All right, so usually when we have that clipping, look at this, clipping in here, clipping in here, clipping in here, that is a very bullish scenario, right? Look at these two clippings, especially when we have that clipping. In fact, this kind of like looks to me like some glasses, like old-shaped glasses. Look at that, like sideways glasses, right? Something like that. I really like how they are shaped. But when we have those clippings, let's actually draw some vertical lines in here. So vertical at the beginning of the clipping, or in this case in the center between those two. Beginning, center, and of course beginning. All right, and let's take a look at what's happening here, especially when we're very bearish on the volume matrix. Look at that, very bearish on the volume matrix, starting to clip with brightness, neon light clipping. All right, and let's bring up the price action here. So let me also hide this, and of course let's see, there it is. So I know it's a little messy, let me clean it up. I'll just turn off everything back again. All right, and look at that, almost at the bottom, right? When the clipping ended right there, look at that, we were calling out the bottom and then a little range and pop back up, right? Yes, guys, we are not looking for like face maintaining gains in here, but we're looking for that initial bounce, right? I mean, at the end of it all, we're still bearish. We need to understand that. So in very bearish scenarios, we are going to be sticking more to shorts than longs, but this could be that bottoming signal that we're looking for, right? Look at that, in between those two, and right after that clip, it ended right here with that bullish, it's not a trend line, come on, a divergence. Well then, almost there with the flip of the price action. Again, look at that going up at the end. One more candle in here, there it is at the very end, clipping in between, then one more candle at the end, there it goes, the bottom, cutting the bottom here. So right now we are at the end. So what are we waiting for then? I mean, because this thing kind of like a keep dipping, you see that? So it is it doesn't mean that we're gonna absolutely stop in here, but it actually, I'm expecting actually a movement in here. So we know that we have our support. Let's bring up that predictive range, right? We also have some support and resistance, another predictive range in here. Come on, I'm looking for that support and resistance. Where are you hiding? And Oh, there it is. There is the support and resistance. So at least we have 4 confluence points. The support and resistance, the 2 clippings, sorry, the 2 predictive ranges, and of course we had, and let me bring my, what is it? My FIVP. So let's go for that. FIVP. And here it goes. It's showing us that despite we have a big area of resistance or of support, the target, it's a little bit lower possible target, right? So we are still within the area of flipping. So that's what I'm gonna start aiming to. So I'm gonna be calling out right now one of a trading here. By the way, guys, remember, and I need to make this especially clear in here, right? We are looking, oh, by the way, look at this, looking beautiful on 4 hours. Great. By the way, don't trust this too much on the 4 hours. I mean, this is not a huge reversal tool, the 4 hours. Weekly and monthly, oh my God, this is where this shine, all right? But look at this. I mean, what I want to tell you is that, all right, you got that last candle, green candle, and boom, blows, right? Blows. It's not face melting, but it calls those bottoms. You see that? So that's what I mentioned, quote unquote, don't trust too much, because this is not gonna be like a face melting scenario, at least not at this point. That's what I'm considering. Important, very important. And for this, let me just go to the weekly, all right? Let's go really quickly to the weekly. Weekly, add support, huge support, big support. You see this? We still don't have those candles. I know it might be here that where I needed to look at those. We have those candles, but only the second shade, right? So we can still go a little bit lower, or even do that little range that we have seen here, that we have seen here. What had happened after those? Boom, boom, blow up, right? So remember, my first entry here was at the 100K. This is gonna be my first leverage entry, all right? I still need to be careful, because we can do some big wicking action. I mean, I would love to have this kind of wicks in here, but it's not, right? Or maybe something like that, right? And that wouldn't be something too crazy to think of. Look at that. If by tomorrow we have a rejection out of that candle, we are going to be having a weekly, great weekly candle close, right? So that's what I'm seeking. That's what I'm trying to get in here. All right, let me go ahead and check out how are we doing on YouTube, because since I'm limited with my monitors, well then, you know, I need to go back and forth over those. So let's get it. We have, there we go, we have Kelly Califant in the house. How's it going, Kelly? Shubi, what's up, Shubi? Stefan Farmer, what's up, bro? Welcome. Dude, Dub, how is it going, T-Dub? Welcome. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time here with me. Really appreciate it. We also have Gare. What's up, bro? Welcome, Gare. Awesome to have you in every single show. Really appreciate it, brother. Thank you for stopping by. How's everyone doing? Rick Kivoda, what's up, my friend? Welcome. Yeah, weekend is here. Yes, weekend is here. And maybe the weekend pump. Ooh, I really don't like to see that, because if we get the weekend pump Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday, we might have a dump on Monday. So I am expecting the dump to happen actually on Sunday, 3 p.m. All right, something around those areas. I kind of like I already went and see how things are looking. I'm expecting that something around 3 p.m. -6. All right, so I think that would be MST. MST, I think, Mountain Standard Time. Just so you guys know. There we go. So we also have here in Dachi. How's it going, Dachi? Great to have you around, my friend. Welcome. Let's get it. All right, so let's go check out where we left out. We have 2 or 3 alerts set up. We're also going to be looking at Litecoin. So let's get it. Let's see how those things are looking. All right, so we have an alert in here. We have INA. Oh, yes, we have INA. Not quite there yet with the long, although that was looking very juicy, to be honest. There we go. We were expecting that drop down, right? Maybe that sweep of the lows. We are right there. Look at that. We already have a couple of green candles in here. Let's take a look at the rest of our indicators. All right, look at that double. We're making those little glasses, right? So we're making those little glasses, I think, with a couple of more candles. I'm going to be looking at somewhere around the second circle. So somewhere around this area. Let's actually get rid of it. Let's throw in our indicators in here to see where things are accumulating. Again, I'm just going to throw everything at once just to make sure that everything loads at once and I don't need to start like waiting for every single thing to play it out. All right. There we go. I think it's loaded. Perfect. And also something important, I'm going to be looking at my favorite indicator by Jacob Maccabee for maybe looking for those sweet sweep of the lows areas. All right. But so far so good. We are right here on we don't have any reversals. We're still bearish, of course. We have a lot of air between the bearish price action and the reactors. That's good, because the more bearish that we are, the more air that we are, we tend to be pulled up to it. All right. So it's just a normal whiplash. So once again, I do expect to have that little bit of a whiplash. Let me clear this up, of course. Let's go over to the next ones in here. And we're starting to see that we have some support right there. Let's get it. All right. So first area of support, I'm going to start adding an alert. And once I add that alert, we're going to be adjusting that alert as we go. All right. Let's bring up the next one here, loud order block, and another area of support and support. So I'm just going to be going in between those two areas, somewhere around here. Let me see if I have anything else. By the way, I don't want to ignore this loud order block, right? Because, I mean, we absolutely have this movement to the downside, right? Look at this, this movement to the downside tends to break to the upside, all right? Important. In this case, we created a range, all right? We were prepared for that range. Right now, we're not, which means that we could have some blow-up movement like this one. I don't want to give you that fake hopium, all right? But that is a very small possibility that we have a right-away breakout, all right? So let's just keep in the back of our head this kind of like a possibility that we right away go and hit this. If that is the case, we're gonna be looking for a possible entry as we break through that throughout this zone. So longing here. I know this actually looks like we might be going downwards, but well, we do have an area here of rejection, but I believe it's already broken based on what I see here, right? It's going to be a very, very dangerous trade. I wouldn't recommend it, but if that happens, maybe I'll try to take it. In the meantime, for the normal people, we're gonna be looking for this retracement in here, all right? Let's go check out what else we have in between. So everything is above, perfect. That's what we're expecting. All of the pulling action, look at those loud order blocks. Everything is bullish. That's why I'm telling you, look at that. We have that much magnetism, that much gravity pulling the price upwards at this point. So that means that we just need one more liquidity down here, just shake out people, and then maybe going upwards. The same thing happened here. That doesn't mean that we are turning bullish. It just means that we are going to go and clear some liquidity. All right, just saying. So be prepared for what might be coming in here. Important. If we are in the bear market at this point, and what am I talking about the bear market? We have broken out of the big range on Bitcoin. All right, there's no doubt about it. All right, there's three possibilities. Fake out, which is the one that I'm leaning on. Right, that's what I'm buying spot. All right, and I'm planning for my next future entry, which might be tonight. The next one will be a big body candle that we still need to make to consolidate and say to the market, hey, you know what? We're bearish, dude. We just cross it and we make the big body candle crossover, right? In that case, right? In that case, do expect the altcoins to actually drop like way farther, right? Do you guys remember this thing in here? Like this? Yeah, well, kind of like that. So a stop loss is just not mandatory. It is like religiously mandatory, guys. All right, so if you're not a believer, you better start believing in the stop loss. All right, so let's go ahead and just get that thing clear, and that's because we're talking about altcoins at this point. All right, so let's go and take a look at our VRVP. we are at the last area right here of volume. We really need to go very far back to actually start getting the next peak in here. There it is, right? But so far, look at that, we are on the bottom of that mountain in here, right? The next one will be at 0.29, right around, well, we are basically right there, 0.26, I'm sorry, right? And we are on 0.27. So that's why I'm also looking into a possible bounce in there. Let's take a look at our ghost trend line in here, and look at that, we have a breakout of the trend line. Perfect, it's been working fantastic. Risk reward, we're not gonna have a look at it. FIVP, abso-freaking-lutely. Let's zoom in here. And most likely, yeah, just like Bitcoin, right? Aiming for that final little strip of those lows. So this also wants me to actually push it back above, but I'm gonna be not that generous, and again push it just a little bit above and maybe just slightly bit more. All right, so I don't want to have it so far back down that it doesn't ring and I miss the trade. All right, so far so good. Let's actually bring the Fibonacci trends, and we are at the very bottom. Not only that, we have a lot of air and a big distance between our VWAP right there. All right, so looking great. Let me just take a look at liquidities. Yep, I mean, if we lose this, well, what would be closer for us? Look at that, we can go grab them. Perfect, but what would be faster, to grab these ones, right? Oh, come on, I'm losing signal here. All right, grab these ones or grab these ones, and I believe, right, this is gonna be our target. All right, let me go ahead and read you guys. By the way, if you have any requests, remember to add Piper Academy so I can read you, because I need to go back and forth on my screens. But let's get it. Let's see. We also have right here, after Ducci joined, Indra, Will, what's up? My Ethereum perp long lost some zeros this weekend. Yeah, man, zeros this weekend on Ethereum. We can actually go and look at it and take a look at it. Retro Mike, how's it going, brother? Welcome. How is it going, my friend? Great to have you around. Week 589. What's up, my friend? Welcome. Great to have you, brother. Great to have you. Who else we got in here? I think that is it. Oh, we have Ernie. What's up, Ernie? Welcome, my friend. Great to have you around. Zcash. All right, why not? Let's take a look at that. By the way, we talked about Zcash yesterday, so let's go and check that out. All right, so we actually had, there you go, an alert. Zcash, we were talking about two possibilities, one breaking up and hitting this area and coming back around, and then, well, we have again those two things. First, breakout retest and then hitting the top of the triangle, or losing the triangle with a big body candle. What was the breaking point? There we go. It was looking at our true 7. All right, so at this point, oh, you know what, and I need to actually control C these and look at that true 7. It turned bullish. Look at where it turned bullish. All right, and let me turn off those things, those liquidity zones, or those liquidations, because they're just too much in the way. All right, perfect. All right, perfect. Let's bring this back up in here. We were looking at that true 7 crossing over, the true 7 crossover. Its signal, its entry right in here. And let's go and check out our main oscillator. Not only that, if we take a look at our, there it is, our setup in here, we have our peak performance diamond. We were talking about that peak performance diamond. All right, we long this, and then we were looking for, there it is, this was what we were looking for, right? Our reversal triangle. Look at where that reversal triangle happened, right here, right after the pump. All right, at this point there is no point to start longing, all right, most likely, because we do have some support and resistances. Let's just not leave it at most likely. Let's actually chart this. All right, so first let's draw some trend lines from here to there, right? Let's extend it. We might have a breakout, or we could have, depending on how you draw this, we could still be within the game. All right, I usually like to go for this weak Kavika in the middle and then do something like that, and you'll see that we are just breaking through. Seems like we might be creating a goose head. Goose head means little retracement for a continuation, bigger retracement. Long story short, breakout, big retest, of we go if Bitcoin stays where the thing is at. All right, if Bitcoin really flops to the downside, all right, I'm like seriously, not like this little BS that it's doing, that's this weak ass thing that it's doing. This thing, Zcash, is actually going to be turning down on you. All right, so just be careful with Zcash in here. Let's bring up the rest of my indicators and let's take a look at what is going to be our next target. Perfect. We have a, let's get it. We have a order block at the top. All right. This order block, of course, is going to be resistance. We have an automated trend line in here. Shout out to Chart Prime for that automated trend line. We have a predictive range, so this is your area of resistance. Where I would wait for the actual resistance to happen. Look at this support. So we already have in line that breakout retest, and right here I will be looking for either a continuation or a breakout in here. If we break back inside, I would actually short it because I believe that we're going back to the 468 zones and maybe even farther down, because that's where we have the big support, somewhere around 428-ish. All right, but so far we're still bullish. We are keep pushing. We are on resistance and we don't buy resistances. All right, why? Because you could be buying the top, and I don't think I'd rather wait to buy the bottom and sell the top than buy the top and, well, sell the bottom. Or I mean, that's the other way around. All right, so just saying, keep your hands busy. In the meantime, we get those areas of entry. Where is what Hiki? What are we talking about? Erin, how's it going? Welcome. Can we pump this weekend OC? Could we get above 104, 106? 104 of 106? I believe it's possible. Let me actually go ahead and take a look, another look. But I think we have a small possibility. So, and by the way, remember, I'm looking for a possible long. I'm just waiting for that triggering point, Gare. So the short story long, or long story short, yes, I think that we can pump. Let me just make sure that I get you the right data. So let me click here. Let me right click. Let's open the link. Let's go check that out once again. All right, right here. Let me move this thing. Perfect. What is the target? 194.93, right? And then bounce up to 98. Get into 100K. That's going to be the main target. That's because we have a trend line. Let's bring the rest of the things in here, right? Let me just get rid of this and bring everything up, because 104 is looking a little too far away. We first need to break the resistances in here, all right? And after that, have a continuation. So just to be clear here, I mean, I could be wrong here, right? We've seen that sometimes, well, the timing is not perfect. 104, I would say that it's a little bit out of hand so far. All right, I don't want to give you false hopes, although it's truth that I have an alert in there. Look at that. This line in here, 103. All right, I do have an alert in there. Why? Because we are able to overcome this zone in here, the 100K zone. The next one is going to be the 104, 105 zone. All right. So long story short, is it a possibility? Yes, but I believe the actual target is going to be at around 98, 100K for what we have as resistance. All right. But yeah, I believe our entry is going to be a little bit lower at 93,700 or even at 92,800 as soon as we get our peak performance diamond in here. All right. I think it's going to happen this night. So let me check out if we have more conversations in here. Here it is. So yeah, thanks for your time. Take profits. Let's get it. Perfect. My pleasure. How do you know I don't have a stop loss Dutch? All right, I'm not gonna intervene there. Let's take a look at here. What else? Guys, remember, if you want to ask me a question, please do at Piper Academy. That way I can see it popping here and it will be much easier for me to follow along. Let's fucking go clipping. Yes, let's fucking go clipping. It actually played out very nicely last time, isn't it? All right. Let's move on to the next one in here. Let's see. Higher time frames are still showing bearish. Yes, very, very bearish, to be honest. Little fish, hey, what's up, little fish? Welcome, my friend. Great to have you. Great to have you. All right, let's do a couple of more in here. Let's go over our alerts. We already have seen, I believe, what was it? Let's just actually see it. AERO. All right, we were talking about AERO here, looking for some bottoming. We actually went a little bit lower in here. Perfect. I think at this point we are going to still go a slightly bit lower. Let's go to the 30 minutes. All right, and here it is. Our previous analysis was the Wyckoff scenario, basically pushing back above, or I mean having a hold, not to then push back to have a reversal. Remember, we were right here as we were calculating this area right there, right? Today in the morning, I was saying, hey, you know what? We most likely are going to have a range because we have the itty bitty Wyckoff scenario. Once again, looking for that flip of the ribbon, looking for a U shape in here, something like there, something like in here, all right, something like that. And if that happens and we are still within range in here, and you know what, let me add an alert right in the middle in here, because look at that. Yeah, we were pretty freaking bearish, but look at your consolidation score, almost unicorn number, almost 10. Look at that, we're about to break. Let's go. All right, and where to? We're gonna break to the downside. So then why I'm not looking for a bearish, that means for a short, because we're not at the top. We are not at the top. Not only that, I'm also going to be looking for a flip of the ribbon in here. So some sweep of the lows and then pump back up. All right. Targets 0.94. That's what I'm going to be looking for. All right. So keep an eye on AERO here. Still looking into AERO. Let's actually go and take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum, by the way. But it's actually playing out just like we were looking at, right? So something important, the breakout retest did not play it out. That's fine. We were expecting that maybe flip of the ribbon. We did not have the flip of the ribbon, so we don't buy it. All right. And well, then we keep making that range. All right. So no secrets there. It is what it is. We were also talking about our triggering was the flip of the ribbon. No trigger, no entry, no trade. We're still within the same range, all right? But the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. We already have a possible reversal, maybe an inverted goose head. This is not looking that great. Inverted goose head means a little retracement, further move, and then bigger retracement. So that actually aligns with the spring. Let's see where our spring could be at. Look at that, exactly right there. All right, let's add the alert. I'm going to be adding the alert right at 3072, and another alert just in case we have a very dramatic drop down at 2962. All right, so those are going to be my trading alerts. Let's go take a look at once again to IBM. All right, yesterday I was telling you that we were on the support zone and it was a good area to buy. Look at that. We went to hunt our entry perfectly and we are right now on profits. All right, so breakout retest, we need to wait a little bit because at this point we're having that maybe U-shaped pattern to the downside and maybe crossing over that zero line. We still need to wait because if this was a fake out and then we close back inside, well, the game is on and we should be going for a much larger taking profits. All right, let me see if I can bring on my predictive ranges in here. There it is. In first area of taking profits, that will be at 326. And next area of taking profits, let's see if we can make this a little bit higher. There we go. High order block, bouncing out of that high order block. Well, we don't have a bigger target so far. So it is what it is. At that point, we're going to be on prices covering zones. All right, perfect. So hopefully you took that trade. It was a pretty good trade on IBM. Remember, at this point, move your stop to entry, wait for the next positioning. And if we have rejection, short it. All right, great. Let's see. Let me go over to you guys and let's read if you guys have anything here. Hey, what's up, Alexander G in the house? How is it going? Great to have you. Great to have you. Happy Friday. All right, Let's see what else we got in here. So it's almost time, so let's throw in one more analysis. And this time it's gonna be editor speak. All right, so in this case, let's go to Crypto Bubbles. There it is. All right, Crypto Bubbles. We got it right here. And, oh, come on. Perfect, on the daily. We have soon, yeah, as I thought so. Everything is looking bad. So what's the worst case scenario? Well, SEC, man. I mean, while everything is just going lower, SEC and Dash, dude, not looking great. I mean, not having the right vibing here. AERO, look at that, very big in red. That's good because we can be counter trading this. And render, let's get it. Render is gonna be our pick. Remember, this is kind of like a counter indicator. So let's do. What is it? Render. Why is it looking like this? All right, we got it right here. Let's open that link, and of course, let's close the rest of our things in here just to save some RAM. All right, render, not looking bad, to be honest. Not looking that bad, to be honest. Are we bearish? Yes, but we've seen worst. All right, so going back maybe for some liquidity, something important is that we did lose initially the very first trend line. Perfect, not about the breakout. It's about the retest. You shorted on the retest, and off you go. But importantly, look at that. We are almost at the very end. I do like it, all right? So I do expect something like this. Remember, leading indicator needs to be pointing to the upside. That is our true 7. Let's just get rid of this. So we will be looking for that clipping, maybe some neon clipping there for you, Gare, of course. And then, well, we already have our money flow in the green. Perfect. We just need to cross over and have our reversal diamond. All right, let's bring up some other indicators here. Let me see some support and resistances. And of course, I want to bring up my VRVP. So trend channel, nothing really. Not on bigger order blocks. Smaller order blocks and VRVP. Maybe all the way down here. We have two areas of entry, right here and right there. Oh, not that one. Right here. All right, so let's add our alerts. All right, one in here, yep, at 2.05, and the other one right here at 1.733. All right, so those are gonna be our entry points. Let's just clean this up. All right, I'm gonna actually be trying to long it here. Stop loss very tight. Let's see if I have anything else. Tighter stop loss. Let's see something that tights around. Yep, I got it right here and a little bit below. That would be my stop loss, and well, that's gonna be it. All right, looking for that first peak performance diamond and flip of the ribbon to look at which of the two supports it's going to be it. All right, so let's get it. I think render is gonna also be a good trade. We'll see how that goes. So other than that, let's wrap this thing up. Jesus saves, what's up, brother? Welcome. Hello, sweet friends. How is it going, guys? Great to have you. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. I do see some new faces in here. Shout out to you guys. Really appreciate it. And, of course, guys, as always, see you guys this time on Monday. Trade safe, right, and wait for confirmation. At this point, we're looking for some bottoming on Bitcoin, but also we need to be clear that if we have that big body candle going downwards, we might be confirming bearish trend, right? So, or bear market. So be careful. We are on break or make areas. And other than that, have a great weekend. See you guys on Monday.